Has anyone received a new credit card from your issuing bank and happened to take a look at it and notice that there's a little square chip on the front of it now? Well, if you haven't, it's going to be coming soon to a mailbox near you. Over the next few minutes, I hope to share some of my 18 years of industry experience explaining what EMV is and how it's going to impact your shopping experience as well as the businesses that you shop at on a regular basis. The technology is chip technology, which is called EMV. That stands for Euro MasterCard Visa. EMV has been introduced and adopted all over the world. The U.S. is actually the last of the major industrialized nations to adopt EMV. Why now? Why are we going to all of a sudden get into EMV here in the U.S. when we've made it all this time that credit cards have been in existence without EMV? There's a lot of things going on right now called breaches. You may have noticed a few of them. Companies like Target, like Home Depot, and a while back, you may remember companies like Marshalls. They were all breached, where lots and lots of personal data and credit card information was compromised and ended up in the wrong hands. It's very unique ways that folks are getting a hold of this information. We've gotten much better over the years, but still have a long way to go. Marshalls, for example, they were running credit card transactions over an unsecured wireless network. So the folks that got those transactions actually just drove around the parking lot with a laptop and took the transactions right out of the air. Caught everyone by surprise. And as a result of that, and all of the breaches happening now, it's kind of accelerated the process for us to adopt this EMV technology. How is EMV more secure? Where you're dealing with a chip technology as opposed to a mag stripe technology. Where the mag stripe can be cloned, the chip can't. You can do skimming with a mag stripe that can't be done with chip technology. The data is encoded in the chip and it never leaves the chip, where data on a magnetic strip can be compromised. If your credit card today that has a magnetic strip on it is not in a secure casing and you happen to be walking through the mall, there's technology out there today where someone could actually have a laptop hanging off the side. You wouldn't even know it, and it's taking all of your data off of your magnetic stripe on your credit card. And that's what they're going to use to do things like identity theft. Servers in restaurants have been known to, once they leave your table and they have your credit card, there's little devices out there that they slide your credit card through, and it takes all of the information off the magnetic stripe and can be used for bad things, whether it be identity theft, whether it be making purchases on your credit card that you were unaware of. All of those things happen today on a regular basis, which is leading to things like this chip technology. It also gives your bank certain controls to help reduce the fraud. Where today you can run a transaction any way you like, and based upon your risk value as it's perceived by your bank, that may not change once we go to this technology. But it gives your bank the option to require you to put in a PIN, require you to do a signature. They may want to authenticate you by having you do both or having you do none. So it allows the bank to put restrictions on these cards in the name of security to cut down on the fraudulent transactions. The chip actually creates the rule, and the terminal actually enforces the rule. So the way credit cards are processed is going to change drastically. The technology is going to change your user experience. So when you go in to shop in a store, today you swipe your credit card, and that's how your transaction goes through. Where in the future, you're actually going to insert your credit card into the device as it completes that transaction. So it's going to be a little different experience for you. The technology is really needed now because things are being driven by the way people want to pay. Whether it be contactless, in addition to this chip technology, you're going to be able to walk up and just wave your card over the device that's at the store that you're shopping in, and that's how you're going to complete your transaction. Until we get to that point, to the contactless, you're going to have to insert it. But a big piece of this technology is mobile. Mobile is growing and growing and growing, and the technology has to keep pace. By 2017, mobile transactions are going to be driving about 90 billion transactions in this country. That's a huge, huge number. So we have to have the technology to keep pace with that. The payment environment is ever changing, and the security has to keep pace with it. How has EMV impacted the businesses? Well, first of all, it's been a huge expense, which is also part of the reason that it took so long to implement it, in addition to the breaches accelerating it. Imagine you are Macy's. You have all these stores all over the country, and in every store, as you can see when you walk through a Macy's, how many cash registers do they have? How many POS systems? Every single one of those POS systems has to have a new EMV device put in place, which is a huge expense if you add that up through all of their stores and all of their devices. There's something called a certification process with EMV. You don't just buy the device and put it in place and use it. It has to go through about 187 different tests before it's certified EMV compliant. So you can imagine the time that puts on an IT staff behind a company like Macy's to work with a company like mine to complete that certification process. And it does vary on the type of solution that you're using. You walk into some stores and you see a little standalone terminal. Well, that's pretty easy, and companies like mine can do that certification for the business. But as you get into the integrated solutions like a Macy's, for example, that's where the certification process becomes very involved, expensive, and time-consuming. What businesses does this impact? It really impacts anybody that has the ability to take your credit card and swipe it. It's called card-present transactions or retail transactions. Anyone that does that is impacted and going to be required to be EMV compliant. The card-not-present transactions, when you go out on a website and you maybe get concert tickets or buy something over the website, that's all called card-not-present. EMV does not impact that market as of yet. They must be EMV compliant by October of 2015, October of this year. So you're probably wondering what happens if they're not compliant. Do their credit card capabilities turn off? Well, no, they don't. They can still continue to take credit cards. That chip you see on your card today, it actually still has your chip and it still has a magnetic stripe on the back of your card, so you can still process swiping the card, or as folks come online with EMV, you'll be able to do it both ways. Eventually, those cards will be phased out and there will be only EMV cards with the chips on them and no more magnetic stripe. So two ways that businesses that don't become compliant will be impacted. The biggest is the liability shift. If there's a fraudulent transaction or a chargeback that happens every day in the world of credit cards, that liability shift comes back on that business and they have to absorb all those losses, where today they don't. That goes back on the issuing banks. The other problem is if I can't take your EMV credit card with a chip on it because I don't have the hardware to do that, you're going to go shop in my competitor's store instead of mine. So there's a couple really good compelling reasons for them to become EMV compliant. Today, is anybody actually running live EMV transactions? You're probably only going to find one retailer out there, and that's Walmart. They're the only company today that's actually running EMV transactions today. So if you go into a Walmart, you may be able to use that chip card after all. But as time goes on and things unfold, all the stores will be coming online. I just hope this has provided some good insight as to what you're going to be experiencing as you go out and do your shopping, and you'll also know behind the scenes as to how that business was impacted to be able to take your card.